Hey y'all, how y'all doing? I am finally back. I know. You can chill me out later. I know it's not Sunday, but I'm back. We got some things we're gonna talk about today. I decided to switch up the topics of what I was gonna originally talk about, but I'm back. Welcome to season 2 of the Analytical Eye Show. It's your boy Javier. You know who I am. I don't think I have to really do much introduction. But for new people that may be watching, welcome to my show. And cheers to you all. I always start off by cheering. That's what we do here on this show. Sometimes I'm drinking alcohol. Sometimes I'm drinking soda. Sometimes I'm drinking juice. You never know what's in that cup. I may tell you, may not. Sometimes it's for me to know, for you to find out. But I hope y'all like my new backdrop. You see, this last season, if you guys go back through my show and through my episodes on a lot, or not just this show, but if you look at recent posts of videos I've done, I've always tried to do a lot of revamping, because when I first started out this show started before it got to the Analytical Eye Show, and I feel like one day I should spend the time to explain how I got to this point to call it this, because before I had called it the Sunday Sessions, and then I called it the Periscope Sessions when Periscope finally came out for Twitter. And I had so many names for this show. And when I started it out, it started as one thing and I didn't like how it was, so then I stopped doing it. And then years later, then I started back up again and I came up with this name. And then I stopped doing it because I feel like I still wasn't there. And then when I finally moved into my place, I feel like, you know what, out of nowhere, it just sparked me to start doing it again. Because I finally had a backdrop like this and everything. So, but yeah, welcome to the Analytical Eye Show, y'all. Where things meet the eye daily. And that's the slogan for this show. And as I mentioned, I will, throughout this process of this show, from last season to this season and future seasons, I will be explaining my perspective, my point of view, as well as somebody else's, the left side's point of view and the right side's point of view. And I'm not talking about political or anything. In some form or fashion, it will be that. But then other times it will be just like what my opinion would be and what somebody's opinion would be and what somebody's opinion would be and how mine could be in agreement with their opinions or other people's opinions, if that makes sense. So yeah, let's get into it, y'all. Like I said, it's your boy Javier. You know who I am. I upgraded my backdrop because I felt like last season my backdrop was great, and I may go back to it. But I felt like this season I need to come back with something more bold, something that's just and I felt like, let me start playing around with some of the graphics and stuff. And to be honest with you, I use different things. I use Final Cut, I use Adobe, but really what has helped me with my backdrops, just straight off easy, because sometimes I'm on the go, I'm at work or mobile, I can't always be at my computer or software or using software, so I'm on my phone. So I use PixArt a lot. So this was created with PixArt, and honestly, I was trying to figure out, in my head I had an idea about how I wanted my backdrop to be, and this I visioned it in my head. But when I was playing around with all of the features and the effects and stuff on PixArt, this came out, and I was just like, whoa, this is right. And the other way I wanted it to be done, which kind of is in the same mixture of the last season's backdrop, came out just how I wanted it, or just in the similar aspect. But I felt like once this came out, I was like, this is bold, this is something I can get jiggy with, and this is very groovy, very savvy. So I said, let me go with something like this. So I hope you guys enjoyed the backdrop. Very bold, very me, and I actually like it because before there was the Analytical Eye Show on both sides, and you had this eye in the middle. So you had the eyes on both sides, and you had if you go back and look at the other episodes from last season, it had the Analytical Eye Show with the eye in the middle. And I took all of these eyes that I found on Google, and I used PixArt and other softwares and merged it together. So that's how you get all these different eyes and all these little technological words and stuff inside of it. But then I said, let me take just the eye. And so that's what I did. this time around, and then I put the analytical eye show in it, and then just the year. So I play around with a lot of things. So this episode may be one, the next episode will be one. I feel like I'm just going to start changing up. And if anybody out there is looking to create an intro song for me, and you are in the, I'm not even going to limit it just to the Florida area, because we're in 2022. Technology is very advanced, and so if anybody around the world that could be watching this, if you are interested in creating an intro song for this show for me, I would gladly take you up on that. Any other producers or editors or directors or, hold up, any other people that would like to join my production for this show, hit me up. My work email is aubiervassal@yahoo.com. So that's my first and last name, which is on this page at yahoo.com. Shoot me an email if you are interested. And I am paying cash money, or not cash money. I am willing to pay for anyone that is looking to collaborate on creating an intro song for me. I already have some of the words written down for what I want to say in the intro, but just need to figure out some type of soulful, old school, 1970, 1980, 1960 type of beat vibe. I'm talking, so hit me up if you're interested in that. But anyway, let's get started on what I want to talk about. Before I go into what I want to talk about, I do want to apologize. Let me turn the fan. Hold on. I do want to first start by apologizing to you guys, because I haven't been as adamant as I feel like I was going to be and should be, and obedient to this show. I will never get on this show and say anything without the passion and the love, because then I'm just getting on here and just ranting and raving. And I've done that. I noticed I was kind of doing that last season, but explaining things from the analytical eye view that I have, that third eye that I have. It's kind of like what comedians have, where they see the left and the right, but they also have that third eye where they can come through and see things from a way different perspective that nobody else can. I believe I have that, but just without the comedic aspect. Or if you think I'm funny, hey, that's a great thing to have. But I felt that last season I was doing good, but I felt like I was getting stagnant, so I had to take a break. And then I tried to get back into it, and I just couldn't do it. A lot of things were my personal life, things going on through my life and stuff that was just happening and transpiring. I just, and then I just fell off the bandwagon with it. But then I felt like let me get back on. Yeah, let's do it. And then these last couple of weeks have been very rough for me, so it hindered me to I was supposed to have premiered 2 weeks ago, and that didn't happen. And then I was supposed to, I made a post stating that I was going to go ahead and premiere on Sunday, June 12th, and then I was going to go ahead and premiere on the 22nd. Let's just be real. Life happens, but the point is I'm here now. And I just want to take the time to apologize to all of you guys. I'm going to be more obedient. I'm going to be more submissive to this show and to the things I want to talk about. Now, I was going to, this episode, for the premiere, talk about something that is very near and dear to my heart, that I've always wanted to talk about, which kind of lingers back from season 1's show about health in the African American community. But I'm going to actually stray away from that, and I'm going to do this in a 2-part premiere. So today will be part 1, tomorrow will be part 2. Today, on part 1, we are going to be talking about abortion. And then tomorrow we're going to be talking about obesity, the stigma around that, and your BMI, and how it affects cultures, and specifically the African American community. What does that mean for us, and how can we go forward with moving forward and betterment for our health and our weight, especially when it comes to our African American women. So with that being said, let's talk about abortion. This didn't spark my brain to change up until after the Roe v. Wade case that the Supreme Court overturned. Now, let's be honest. I always heard about this case from soap operas and drama shows and documentaries and stuff like that, but I never did my homework on what the case was about. And what I read up on before I started doing this, before I came on set today for this show, I read up on it. And it was about a woman that was on her third child, and she wanted to have an abortion. But of course, in true fashion, I'm not shocked it was Texas of all states. They have labor laws. I mean, not labor. It just floated right out of my mouth, right? They have strict abortion laws that state that a woman can't have an abortion unless it's out of protection to save the mother's life. And this was back in, let me pull up the article. Let me be honest, I use Wikipedia a lot. My teachers never told me to use Wikipedia, but I feel like Wikipedia is a good source of knowledge because they may not always be accurate, but they do just give you precise information without you having to do all this damn research, find out who done it, how come it, the who, the how, the why, the what, and the when. I found all that stuff out through Wikipedia. I'm sorry. Because in school, your teacher didn't want you to use Wikipedia because it's more of an opinion page or website. And it was written based off of sometimes somebody's opinion or not necessarily all the facts. You know, because then anybody can go in as long as you have a Wikipedia account and change the information. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like you can do that with any website. So I don't know, that's kind of contradictory. But anywho, I'm gonna read you verbatim what I read. So it says Roe v. Wade, 410 U.S. 113, 1973, was a landmark decision of the U.S. Supreme Court in which the court ruled that the Constitution of the United States generally protects a pregnant woman's liberty to choose to have an abortion. The decision struck down many federal and state abortion laws and fueled an ongoing abortion debate in the United States about whether or to what extent abortion should be legal, who should decide the legality of abortion, and what the role of moral and religious views in the political sphere should be. It also shaped a debate concerning which methods the Supreme Court should use in constitutional adjudication. Sorry, it's been a while since I said that word. So, what put this in place, and I'm gonna be talking about a lot today, so I'm hoping y'all can catch on. I'm gonna try to work with me. So what the prosecution was, if I'm saying this right, because it would be the prosecution because I'm gonna read you the guys the entire case, but the prosecution was stating using the 14th Amendment as the reason why women should have the right to have their own choice in whether or not they want to have an abortion. So I'm going to continue to read the entire the beginning of what was stated when it came to this, and then I'm gonna go into what specific clause within the 14th Amendment they used to support their argument as to why women should be allowed to choose their abortion, choose whether or not they want to have an abortion, not necessarily the state should. And then I'm going to give you my opinion. Then I'm going to give you the reasons as to why people are for abortions and then why people are against. And when I mean abortions, meaning pro-choice on what they want instead of pro-life. And then pro-life versus pro-choice. And where do I fall in between those? So, let me continue. The case was brought by Norma McCorvey, known by the legal pseudonym Jane Roe, who in 1969 became pregnant with her third child. That's the year my mom was born. McCorvey wanted an abortion but lived in Texas where abortion was illegal except when necessary to save the mother's life, which I mentioned. Her attorneys Sarah Weddington and Linda Coffey filed a lawsuit on her behalf in U.S. federal court against her local district attorney Henry Wade, alleging that Texas abortion laws were unconstitutional. A third judge panel of the U.S. District Court of the Northern District of Texas ruled in her favor and declared the 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 relevation not the relevation declared the relevant Texas abortion statutes unconstitutional. The parties appealed this ruling to the Supreme Court. On January 22nd, 1973, the Supreme Court issued a 7-2 decision holding that the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution provides a fundamental right to privacy, which protects a woman's right to an abortion. That's the clause within the 14th Amendment, which I'll explain more later. The court also held that the right to abortion is not absolute and must be balanced against the government's interest in protecting women's health and prenatal life. The court resolved these competing interests by announcing a pregnancy trimester timetable to govern all abortion regulations in the United States. During the first trimester, governments could not regulate abortion at all, except to require that abortions be performed by a licensed physician. During the second trimester, government's purpose of protecting maternal health and not for protecting fetal life. After viability, which includes the third trimester of pregnancy and the last few weeks of the second trimester, abortions could be regulated and even prohibited, but only if the laws provided exceptions for abortions necessary to save the life or the health of the mother. The court also classified the right to abortion as fundamental, which requires courts to evaluate challenged abortion laws under the strict scrutiny standard, the most stringent level of judicial review in the United States. So, let's stop there, because that was a lot I just read, and sometimes I don't think I have a dyslexia. I don't think it's a, I haven't been, what's the word I'm looking for? Diagnosed with a dyslexia when it comes to reading, but when I start to read a lot more, when somebody's reading it to me, I can process it because I can visualize. I'm a visual person, but when I read it, I can't do that. So I feel like I have a dyslexia when it comes to that. So when I read too much, I have to pause. So basically, let's break down what those two paragraphs were just saying. So when you look at the case, the argument that was made by Jane Roe came about from the 14th Amendment. And the 14th Amendment, they used the first clause, they used the Section 1, which is the citizenship and civil rights. Section 1 of the 14th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States states all persons born or nationalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction of equal protection of the laws. So, there's a couple things that could be said about this clause, because if you look at it, it says this: nor shall any state deprive any person of life. Now, a lot of Republicans or church-going people would look at that as saying the law is stating that that person that's inside of her belly has life. They deserve life. And who is that mother to say, oh, I want an abortion, I'm going to kill my child? On the other hand, it's stating the right to privacy. It's stating that nobody should be in anybody's business about what's going on in my body, what am I doing with my body, and what's going on with that and how I'm going to operate. So here's the thing. When it comes to what that is saying, it's saying that women have the right to privacy. No matter what religion or background or beliefs or anything how you operate in your life, every woman has a right to privacy, and that was the argument made, and that's the reason why the case was won, because a woman should have a right to do with their body as they choose, and I believe that. What Texas is saying is that you don't have a right to kill a baby unless it's at the or not. You don't have the right to have an abortion without there being a justification as to you needing your life is at risk, because there are times when women are pregnant that the pregnancy is actively harming the mother, and you have to choose between either you're going to have the mother live or you have the child live. And sometimes so in that case, that's what Texas was talking about. Now that I've explained briefly kind of the case, because I had to do my own homework on it, because I didn't know actively what was the case about specifically and where did it preside and what took place. So let me give you my opinion on abortion. And my opinion has changed over the years. For a minute, I never really cared about it because I'm a guy. When do I care? I'm not a woman. I shouldn't really care about abortion or for or not abortion because I'm not a woman. Who am I to tell a woman what to do with her body? And then it changed into, you know what? I am for life. And let me say this. I wasn't pro-life. When Donald Trump, let me be honest. Let me be very transparent with you guys. And I've said this when I was last season. When Donald Trump was elected into office, my parents, my stepdad and my mom are Donald Trump supporters. And so, another episode would have to talk about why they transitioned from voting for Obama to now being Trump supporters. As a child, I was like, you know what? They're believing in Trump, so you know what? I'm gonna believe in Trump too. And without doing my homework. But see, I didn't follow politics. I didn't care about politics. I didn't care about elections. I didn't care about Olympics. I don't care about none of that stuff. It's all boring to me, if you ask me, baby. But, long story short, I was like, yeah, Trump. And then I had my only argument when I came down to it. I could never tell you why Trump was going to be the great president. I was always like, I admired his business. I admired him on Celebrity Apprentice. But then when I started doing more homework on his business failures and a lot of the things, he's not really a successful businessman. And then you started watching a lot of documentaries, not just on the Democrat side or, that side, that left wing. You're also looking at the stuff on the right wing. You start evaluating, you start thinking, there's something here that's not right about this guy. So, long story short, at the time when I was with Trump, I was like, you know what? Trump's right. Abortions ain't right. You shouldn't be having an abortion. Every child has a right to live. And then I started thinking, if you can stand there and if you can lay down and have sex, you can stand there and take care of that child. That's your consequence. But then I also started thinking, well, these kids out here are having sex I started thinking about the Jill Scott Wild Cookie song. The Wild Cookie poem that she had on her Woman album from 2015. She was talking about how all these kids are in the system. Mom and daddy's done left them. They just out here flying around. They ain't doing nothing with their lives. They having all these damn kids being on welfare. The government, my tax dollars is taking care of your kids, and I shouldn't be having that. So then I'm like, you know what? No, they should have abortions, because if you can't take care of a damn child, what do I look like? My tax dollars going to helping you take care of your children. Because I started thinking about my cousins and people in my family that abuse the governmental system because they're too lazy to go out there and get a job. Instead of using the government's aids to aid them into prospering to having a better life for them and their kids, being able to get the house, or get a house or get a better job. Or, we're down and out at the moment. We're going to be on food stamps. We're going to be on welfare or whatever. But I'm going to actively try to get off of that. You see what I'm saying? So during the time, I was teeter-tottering back and forth between the two because so many thoughts were going through my head until that bring me here to today, which I feel like this is the perfect time to now talk about it, because after this whole case we're at this moment with the abortion laws being overturned by the Supreme Court and it's being given back to the states. I feel like now I can talk about it and actively give you my full spectrum opinion and beliefs and thoughts on it. So with today, my feeling on abortions, and here's my opinion. I'm all for women choosing how they want to operate with their pregnancies, their bodies and stuff. I don't think that anybody, especially a man, should never be telling a woman what they should or should not be doing with their bodies and their babies. Because Sometimes you end up in a situation where it was a one night stand, and then the dude don't want nothing to do with you or the baby. Sometimes you're sexually assaulted. Sometimes you are married, and there's religions where you are married into having you're a 13-year-old marrying a 50-year-old man, and then you have relations with him unwillingly, and then you get pregnant. There's all of these different things that factor into why abortions are there. But then it's also just a simple fact that sometimes you just had sex, got pregnant, and you're just not ready for the baby. You're not ready for a baby. You're not ready. You don't want to never have a kid or anything like that. So I'm for that. Now, the religious side of Javier says, oh yeah, it's a sin, because in the Bible it states that. And I can't tell you verbatim where it states that. But from my upbringing and what I've understood is that in the Bible it states that. But one thing I know I can tell you for sure as to what, now I know where the scripture is for certain things as far as sinning goes, but for abortion I don't know where that is. So I can tell you that with my honest opinion. I don't know where that's at. But I can tell you this: when I was reading the book of Genesis, not just before I came to the show, I was trying to read. I'm trying to read all books of the Bible. So when I was reading the book of the Bible, it talks about God saying, "Be fruitful and multiply." So I don't know verbatim where it states abortion is a sin, but I can tell you that if it doesn't even say that verbatim in the Bible, and I'm not challenging anybody that's saying it is in there. I'm just saying I haven't read that, so I'm not going to tell you something that I haven't read. What I can tell you that I have read is it says, "Be fruitful and multiply." So for me right now, from what I've read in the Bible thus far, I can say that, okay, that I can understand where religious people and church-going people can say that it's a sin because God wants us to be fruitful and multiply. But then I can also say, I'm not saying that God didn't factor this in, and no, I'm not saying that I haven't gotten that far in the book yet, and I could be wrong. But all I'm saying is this: when God said, "Be fruitful and multiply," I don't really think He took into account at that time that He was factoring the fact that there's going to be poverty, there's going to be killings, there's going to be rapes, there's going to be molestation, there's going to be incestation, there's going to be depression, there's going to be financial issues, there's going to be all of these things in the world that are going to hinder for being fruitful and multiply. Because you got rich and poor, you got the 1% versus the 99%, you got all of this tomfoolery going on in the world that being fruitful and multiply is not ideal. And this world is becoming so overpacked that even China is limiting your children. Where I think that they state that if you can only have like one boy and one girl. If you have another boy or another girl, they kill that gender, and you just have to keep trying until you get the opposite sex, and that's all you get, one boy and one girl. That's it, from my understanding. If I could, you correct me if I'm wrong, but that's from my understanding. That's what it was. At least that's what I've heard from somebody. So I always, that. So with me, I agree it's a sin, but who am I to judge you? I'm gonna leave that up to God to judge you, and I am the person that I'm gonna let you know, hey, from my belief, it's a sin. But I'm still gonna support you. I'm not gonna disrespect you and say you're going to hell and this, that, and the third, because I don't think that any church-going person can say in the Bible that you go into hell if you kill, steal, destroy, abort a baby. It don't really say that directly in the Bible, and at least I don't see that verbatim is saying that, because anybody can turn their life around that could potentially get them into heaven. And who are you to say for sure if they going to hell or not? Who are you to say that as a Christian person? Because you ain't God. So who are you to sit here and judge? And like in the Bible, it also states, "Let who without sin cast the first stone." And last time I checked, sometimes these church-going people are the ones that are sinning more than the ones that are actually not even saved, and the ones that are actually sinners by willingly force. Just saying. But like I said, on one hand, I am all for. This is where my analytical mind comes in, because on one hand, I'm all for women choosing how they want to do with their bodies. Another hand, I'm saying it is a sin, but who am I to judge you? Who am I to talk down about your choice to do what you want with your body? I'm going to respect you. I'm still going to love you because I'm not only because I'm a child of God, because it's the right thing to do. And you have a right to choose how you want. And I'm going to tell you this. If my woman came up to me and was like, hey, baby, I don't think we're ready for a child. I'm considering aborting the baby. First, one thing I'm going to tell you, you ain't thinking about nothing. You're going to have that child. And I know a lot of women out there watching this going to be like, did he just really just say that? For me. And here's why I'm saying that. Because I would get with someone who for sure wants to have a child. For sure will never even have that cross their mind to want to abort a baby. Not just because of religion, but just because they're actively wanting to have a child. They're prepared to have a child. And so that's where it takes me back to, sometimes I want to be like, no, you stand there and have that baby, because you knew the consequences when it came to having a baby. You knew that you were going to, you knew that HIV or STDs could be involved in unprotected sex. You knew you could have a baby from unprotected sex. There's all these things that can happen from unprotected sex, and you actively didn't partake in having safe sex or actively to not get pregnant. So you should stand there and have the baby. But then on one hand, I'm like, no, because then poverty. So you see where I'm going with this? And then another thing that I want to bring up and I can't stand this about church people. And this is going to lead me into this whole thing about getting the states to, giving the power back to the states and all this stuff like that, which I find stupid, because I'm going to read you something that one of these gospel singers that I really love pissed me off about. Because I'm about to go in on this girl. Because I'm sorry. I love her as a black woman and as a black singer. But I have to call her out because what she's doing is stupid. And I'm going to also explain a couple of things too. Not saying she's stupid, but what she said was stupid. So, my thing is this. Church-going people are hypocritical to a T, to a fault. You say that abortion is a sin. But there's a lot of church-going people out there that use birth control. There's a lot of church-going people out there that use condoms. There's a lot of church-going people now that they're creating this thing where a pill that men can use so they don't have to use a condom. But it's like birth control. Don't you know in the Bible it states that all that is sinful? Because God doesn't want you to actively abstain from having a child. He wants you to have children, because in the Bible it says be fruitful and multiply. Don't you know that all of the things that are peculiars or these supplements or products created by man to advertently get you to not have a child, don't you know that God doesn't believe in that? That pisses God off. That's a sin in itself. But there's church-going people out there that use those products. There's people out there that are scientists and people that don't believe in religion, people that are ideologists, people that are people that are atheists. We all use those products. That the Trojans, the Magnums, the condoms, however you want to call it. Don't you know that? All of those products used. Plan B. All of those are used. That's sinful. Don't y'all know that? But yet, you want to call out abortion as sinful and make that a big old rah huge issue. I don't see that. I don't understand that. Now, moving on to the next thing I can't stand is, and I'm going to go back to explaining the pro-life and pro-choice things, and because I kind of already explained where I fall, because I fall in the middle. And I kind of explained that to you, but I want to explain their sides. But before I go any further, because I start to lose my train of thought on things, what irritated me was this whole thing about abortion being unconstitutional or it being constitutional, whatever you want to call it. The only thing I can recall talking about women is women's suffrage. Now, we're going to look up the definition of women's suffrage, and I'm going to give you this. Now, women's suffrage is the right of women to vote in elections. Beginning in the mid-19th century, some people sought to change voting laws to allow women to vote. Liberal political parties would go on to grant women the right to vote, increasing the number of parties' potential constituencies. That's the only thing I remember about the Constitution stating anything about women having the right to do anything. That was the only thing I can remember. So when you have these pro-life or pro-choice people out here saying, oh, it's unconstitutional for a woman to have an abortion or have the choice to have an abortion, or they shouldn't be having abortions. I'd have to disagree with that altogether. I don't think that it's unconstitutional for a woman to not be allowed to have an abortion. I don't think it's unconstitutional for a woman to be allowed to have an abortion. I don't or constitutional. Let me think about what I just said so I can make sure I said it correctly. I don't think it's unconstitutional for people to vote against women having the right to have an abortion. I also don't think it is within the Constitution, so constitutional, for women to have the right to have an abortion. Because, and the reason why I say this is because, let's be real, the only reason why we're having this argument is because of religion. Let's be real. Everybody's trying to explain it in their own right, but it always goes right back up to that man upstairs. There's never been a law in place before stating women could not have abortions. Therefore, it's not unconstitutional that people want to take away women's rights to have abortions because it was never written in the Constitution in the first place. Yes, the Roe v. Wade case used their argument of right to privacy, but that's it. That has nothing to do with abortions. It's the right. Well, let me rephrase. It does, but it doesn't have nothing to do directly with abortions. They use that argument of right to privacy to support the claim that the government should have no basis to know what's going on with a woman's body. That's what they used the Constitution for. So what I'm saying is that argument of right to privacy was supported of why should we be as women disclosing that we want to have an abortion to the government so then we can get granted from the government to have an abortion. That's right. That's invading my privacy because that is technically invading HIPAA laws. And I wouldn't say because HIPAA laws are the doctor has no right to disclose a patient's case or health issues or to anybody that's other than their next of kin or other family members or direct family members or like husband and wife or children and parents or whatever. So it kind of falls in that category of the HIPAA laws why do you should have the right to know about what's going on in my body? But the Constitution never states anything specifically about women having abortions or women pregnancies. So therefore it's not constitutional or unconstitutional. This is all about religion. And I can't stand where church folks sit up here and say it's unconstitutional for the United States Supreme Court to take away the power from the states, on whether or not abortion should be legal or not. Because technically having an abortion is not illegal. Not having an abortion is not legal. It's not legal or illegal. It's all about religion. Let's be real. In the Bible, it doesn't say having an abortion is illegal. It says having an abortion is a sin. In so many words, it says having an abortion is a sin. It doesn't say anything about illegal. What's legal to man and what's legal to God is two different things. Because God doesn't look at anything as legal or illegal. He looks at it as it's a sin or not a sin. And every sin is the same. So having an abortion is just as sinful as murdering somebody. In God's eyes, one doesn't equate the other. Now, in our eyes as humans, we do that. We say, a murder is worse than a rape. Or a murder is worse than a robbery. Or a robbery is worse than armed robbery is worse than, freaking beating somebody up, assaulting somebody. Because somebody's life is really at risk at this point because it's an armed robbery. You see what I'm saying? We as humans equate what's really bad to what's really worse. God doesn't look at it like that. God looks at it as, you murdered somebody or you raped somebody. You both sinned. Like it doesn't matter who did what and what's the severity of the crime. You both did bad. End of story. So in my defense, I feel like church people or anybody else that states that it's unconstitutional for the Supreme Court to be taking away the power from the states It's not unconstitutional. Because one, abortion laws was never in the Constitution to begin with. And two, you have no factual base to say that abortions are illegal. It has nothing to do, abortions has nothing to do with the law. Abortions has everything to do with the religion. With religion. Because God says it's a sin. So stop trying to mask up law to try to get it to where, oh yay, the states have the power back to choose whether or not abortions are legal or not. Why do even the states have the right to choose that anyway? Because like I said, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. It has nothing to do with the law. It has everything to do with religion and what you believe as your beliefs. And that affects the First Amendment, because now you're having you have the right, you have the right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, religion, and all, freedom of speech and all that. So then that kind of benches the First Amendment, because now you're suppressing somebody's life based off of your religion. And there was this recent case that the Supreme Court just ruled on, where I just saw this on YouTube, where this coach was, after each game, he would go onto the field and pray with his teammates, or his team, and with his players. And so the school has suspended him until further notice because of his right to religion. And my thing is that's why does anybody have an issue with the man going out with his team and praying with them? If you don't want your child to be a part of him praying, tell your child you don't want that, and so to pull out. Now I can see if he was out there suppressing everybody. You have Muslims in it. You have, say for example, his players. There's some Muslim players. There's some Jew players. There's some Christian players, some Catholic players, and he's suppressing them with all them trying to be Christians, right? Now we have an issue. But if the man is praying willingly with all of his players, and his players don't have an issue with it, why is the school and the parents don't have an issue with it? And I didn't do my homework on the case. I'm just saying, why is it that school now is getting involved with the freedom of religion aspect? He's not suppressing his players with his own religion, saying, you're going to believe in this, they're trying to preach a Sunday sermon. He's just praying with them. What's wrong with that? If ain't nobody got an issue with it, what's wrong with that? And if the parents have an issue with it, tell your child, I don't want you a part of that. And if the child says, I want to be part of it, then hey, what you going to do about it? You know? The same thing falls in this case. It's not unconstitutional for a woman to have an abortion. It's not unconstitutional for the United States Supreme Court to say, hey, you have no right to tell a woman whether or not they should or should not have an abortion. Because it has nothing to do with law. It has everything to do with religion. Now I'm going to read you this because this pissed me off. Evan McKinney, you done pissed me off. And I'm sorry, I have to call you out. Because this really frustrated me as to, if y'all hear anything, sorry. So, Evan McKinney said this. Oh, and she actually updated her post. Did I screenshot it? Because I feel like I did. I feel like I may have screenshot, because she updated this post. Hold on. Because she received a lot of backlash and hate for what she said. And I was pissed off at her. I don't hate my sister. I'm just saying I hate what the fuck she said. Because it pissed me off. And I don't think I screenshotted it. I thought I screenshotted it. Oh, I did. See, funny thing. If you go to Evan McKinney's page, hold on one second, y'all. Alright, my apologies. I'm always walking off. Okay, so if you guys go to Evan McKinney's page, you will see that she updated her post. But, let me read you verbatim what the initial post said. And I'm going to read it to you to its entirety, because I don't want nobody saying I'm depicting something apart. You can't take one thing and look at it. So here's what she said. Evan McKinney posted a video of her sonogram when she was pregnant. She says, "Here's the reality. Roe versus Wade legalized murder. The growing baby inside his or her mother's womb is a separate entity. It's not your body, in quotation marks. It's your baby's body. If it were your body, you'd be killing yourself. And the truth is, sexual immortality has grown in the world worse than the spread of any disease, and it's poisoned the minds of Christians too, like some other praised sins. Isaiah 14:15 says, "Can a man forgive her nursing child, that she should have no compassion on the son of her womb? Even these may forget, yet I will not forget you." We are in the world, but called to not be of the world. Roe v. Wade was so unconstitutional. It should have never happened. And all that's happened is the government giving power back to the states. But the enemy, he seeks to steal, kill, and destroy. This is a scheme of the devil. Do we not see that? It's clear. We're calling the murder of our own children a right. But we stand and march for Black Lives Matter? Question mark. Which ones? Question mark. Can't be all of them. According to Congress.gov, more than 19 million black babies have been aborted since 1973. It's just 2022, and 79% of the added Planned Parenthood surgical abortion clinics are in minority neighborhoods. So you tell me which Black Lives Matter. Oh yeah, I forgot. Only the ones that involve being shot by white police officers. I'm tired of the lack of knowledge black people have. We listen to anything the media says without doing our proper research. These are the facts. And what bothers me the most is seeing Christian me and women support what the Lord is clearly against. Now therefore fear the Lord, serve him in sincerity and in truth, and put away the gods which your fathers served on the other side of the river and in Egypt. Serve the Lord, and if it seems evil to you to serve the Lord, choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve. Whichever the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the river, or the gods of the Amorites, in which land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Joshua 24:14 through 15. Now I'm going to dissect this because, Evie, you have pissed me off to no ends. This comment about it's not your body, it's your baby's body. I know what she's talking about. What she's saying is this. Let me back it up, because she said abortions are murder. You're killing your child. You can't necessarily kill a child if they don't have a body, Evie. And I'm being factual. Because the baby doesn't start out as a body. It starts as this little bitty thing, like a blob, like a ball. I'm just going to say a ball, because I don't know the scientific term for it. But it starts out as this. Then, I don't know, the feet grow first, or the hands grow first, or the body grows first, or the head grows first. I don't know what grows first after that. But all I know is this. So if women are aborting after that, that's not necessarily that. You're not killing. It's not even a what is a fetus? Not a fetus, but it's not even a baby at that point. And there's some women that abort at, I think the latest you can abort a baby would be, 10 weeks or something, right? Or something like that. And at that time, the baby has started to grow some things. That was one thing I wanted to say. To me, I don't think abortion is murder until you've actively had the full baby. Like the baby has eyes, a brain, heart, into what they say is that abortion is murder, because once your baby has a heartbeat, that's murder. But now they're starting to get to a scientific fact where if the mother aborts before the baby has a heartbeat, it's not a baby, or it's not a child. It's not a human being. It's just something inside the body that will soon have a heartbeat. So for me, I don't think to a certain stage of the pregnancy is murder. Once the baby has a heartbeat, I can see how it looks as murder. But personally for me, I don't consider abortion a murder. I don't. Even as a Christian, I really don't. Sorry, that's just my opinion. Moving forward to the next point, Evie's stating that when you have an abortion, and because they're on this pro-life train, and the reason why God says it's a sin is because if you didn't have a baby inside of you and you were doing an abortion, you would be killing yourself, not the baby. So you have no right as a woman to abort your baby, because it's not your life that you're aborting. It's your child's life. or it's another human's life. So that's where this pro-life has come into play, and she's using the Bible to say this is the reason why it's a sin, is because God is stating, from my understanding, she's stating that God is stating that you have no right to kill this human being because it's not your body. It's not your body. If you want to kill yourself, go ahead and kill yourself. Not your child's life. Not saying that she's saying if you want to kill yourself, kill yourself. I'm not saying she's saying that. I'm just saying that that's where the mindset, that's where I'm getting the mindset is. So I feel like that's completely wrong. Because it's inside of a woman's body. And yes, it happens to be the baby she's killing, so it's the baby's body she's killing. But it's inside of her body still. And up to a certain point, it's not necessarily a baby. You get what I'm saying? That wasn't the most pissed off thing that struck me. What really started to piss me off was when she started talking about this whole thing with Black Lives Matter and this whole Planned Parenthood thing. Let's be real. On one hand, I believe that it kind of, why is Planned Parenthood mostly in minority communities? But then I have to look on the other hand, as I mentioned earlier in this episode, why is there Planned Parenthood and abortion clinics in more minority communities? It's not to promote killing black people, because I don't believe that Planned Parenthood never promoted that. At least from my understanding. Yes, if you think about it, 19 million babies killed. But you also got to think about it. That's 19 million babies that could have been killed by the cops. That's 19 million babies that could have been black on black crime. That's 19 million babies that any one of those babies could have been subjected to life of poverty and injustice and crime and horror that black people still face to this day. But then yes, those black babies could be doctors, lawyers, maybe even president or anything like that. So I don't, with my heart of hearts, can actively believe that she's promoting this idea that Planned Parenthood is promoting killing black and brown babies to keep white people the highest percentage and high position. What's the word I'm looking for? High percentage in this United States and in control of black and brown people. And that's where she's trying to go with this. She's trying to use Black Lives Matter, the NAACP, all this stuff to support her argument of why she's against abortion. When none of that has anything to do with abortion. She's trying to use race. And this is one thing I hate about black people. She said black people don't do their homework and stuff. And this is the thing I hate about black people. And the Bible says you're not supposed to hate, but I hate this about black people. You sit up here and try to use race to justify some dumb shit or dumb shit you saying when it has no factual truth. Like when people come to the airport. They come to the airport and be like, TSA is prejudice on black people. They taking out lotions and stuff. But last time I checked, the public has known that TSA put in a law or a rule that you aren't allowed to have large liquid gels or sprays over 3.4 ounces coming through the checkpoint. And that rule has been in place for the last, 16, 17 years? So how does that have anything to do with black people? Now, you say it's about black people because you want to know why. Because every time a black person comes through, they didn't follow directions. And there's an officer there asking them, do you have any large liquid gels or sprays over 3.4 ounces in your bag? They say no. It goes through the x-ray, we pull it, and guess what? Sure enough, they got Macy's, they got Target, they got Walmart, they got damn near Bath and Body Works. We take your shit because you don't follow directions. But then you sit up here and want to make it about race when it has nothing to do about race. And that's one thing I hate about what Evie McKinney said. I don't hate her, I hate what the hell she said. Because what the hell does that have to do with abortion? Yes, it may be true that more African American women and Latino women and Asian women and women that are not white are getting more abortions, but you don't know what their reasons for that. And the same thing could be said about why there are not more post office or DMVs or voting election ballot booths in African American communities. It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. So how are you trying to equate? She's basically saying that Planned Parenthood is just promoting killing more black people. That's all it says. When Planned Parenthood yes, I agree. I see a lot more white faces in the Planned Parenthood community than blacks on that side of the spectrum of the business side of Planned Parenthood. But if you look at it, it's a woman choice thing. And a lot of African American women are out here that are not even women, but they're little girls having sex at young ages, getting pregnant, and they don't want to deal with the responsibility or deal with having a baby, so they go and get an abortion. So it has nothing to do with one or the other. That's how I feel. And I feel like this post was very idiotic for her to post, because her whole argument had nothing to do with her beliefs. It had everything to do with everything else, trying to scrounge up every little thing she could to make her argument when one thing didn't have to do with the other. And it made no sense. And the biggest thing that after that comment, the biggest thing that she said was, it's unconstitutional. How the hell is abortion unconstitutional? How the hell is the Supreme Court giving the rights back to the states a constitutional thing? Because there's levels to this thing. There's a reason why we have a judicial court or a circuit court, and then there's the court, the U.S. There's the because each state has their own Supreme Court, but then there's also the federal Supreme Court, and they're the head of that. They're the head of all Supreme Courts and judicial courts and circuit courts. There's a reason for it, because they're the last buck on the list. It's like, hey, we're gonna make this decision because you guys obviously can't figure it out, so we're gonna make it for you. So I feel that the vote to overturn Roe v. Wade was based off of religion, because 3 of those Supreme Court associate Supreme Court justices, they were appointed by Donald Trump, who is against abortions. And to be honest, I don't even think Donald Trump can sit up here and tell you it was because of his religious beliefs, because I don't think that man believes in anything but himself. He only had it in that place because he was trying to get the Christian votes. Let's be real. And he got them. So then he votes in these people that are heavily in religion and against things like abortion. So they obviously will then overturn it and base it off of, oh, it's unconstitutional. The state should have the right to choose and tell a woman whether or not she should get pregnant. When instead of just coming out flat out and saying, you know what, in our religion, we believe this is a sin. So this is the reason why we're overturning it. And we're going to send it back to the states and allow them to have the power. And then these states are like, thank you, yeah. And we're going to say, yeah, it's constitutional that we should have the right to tell a woman what they should do. And instead of just saying, you know what, as the state of Arizona or the governor of Texas or the the Senate or the powers that be for the state of Texas or the state of Arizona or the state of Georgia or the state of Florida, we gonna tell you, we have the right to tell you how you should operate in abortions laws that should be put in place. Not based off the fact of our religion, but off the fact that, or let me rephrase it, not the fact that it's unconstitutional, but based off our religion. They're not gonna really tell you that, because they're not ballsy enough to tell you that. And that's what Evan McKinney is trying to make her point across, is she's trying to, instead of just being a ballsy woman or using her ovaries and telling you, hey, it's a sin because of this. She's trying to make it that it's unconstitutional. It's this. It's about Black Lives Matter. And why do you think that it's a sin? Because don't you see that it's a problem that Planned Parenthood has all these damn clinics and stuff in African and brown communities? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all, Evie. It does not make any sense whatsoever. So how can you sit up here and try to use black people? And that's the thing that irritates me, is because the fight for the African American community on anything is long overdue. We're still fighting for it. So when you equate something or try to relate something to the black fight, it diminishes our fight. It's like taking 100 steps forward, but then taking 1,000 steps back, because you're trying to make something relate to something that is not even relatable. Now, if Planned Parenthood came out with articles or statements promoting more abortions with black and brown communities, then I can see we have a problem. But I've never heard of that. At least I've never seen it, never read it or anything like that. So I have a problem with that. And I just can't stand these churchgoers or even the people that are not religious but against abortion but pro-life, and majority of them are pro-life based off of their religion. I just don't understand why they're saying it's unconstitutional. Instead of just coming out flat out and just saying it's a sin and we want to put this in place because we don't believe you should be having abortions. But then the next thing I'm like, are you going to take care of these kids? Are you going to pay that college tuition? Are you going to put shoes, clothes, food on the table, pay these rent bills and all this stuff like that? Then I think not. But then Javier has to come to defense and be like, well, how are you going to try to turn this around on them when you the one that spreaded your legs for some guy that you knew wasn't about it? Or how could you enter your dick into someone's vagina, someone's pussy, when you knew she wasn't about it? Because it works both ways. It takes two to tango. So that's my argument, y'all. You know, I see the side of I just don't understand it. I just can't stand, like I said, I just can't stand that church people try to sit up here and make this a big argument when they got dirt up underneath their skirt. They act like they Mr. and Mrs. Goody Two Shoes, and they do things within their life that is sinful as well. How the hell you gonna say it's a sin and frown upon a woman doing what he or she decide, not he or she, but what she decides to do with her body? Because if it was anything else besides abortion, you'd be like, yeah. Because then I can make the argument that in so many words in the Bible, and I don't know this to be factually true, but I'm just saying because based off of religion, and if you're so heavily religious, ain't a woman supposed to be in the house cooking and cleaning and taking care of the kids, and the man's supposed to be out working? Right? Oh, but I forgot. Isn't there that woman that Donald Trump elected into the Supreme Court office after that, what's her name, Ruby, that one Supreme Court, a beautiful, lovely lady, passed away so suddenly at 89 years old? Ain't you supposed to be in the house cooking and cleaning? Not doing the man's work by being a part of the law? Oh, but now Javier done poked the bear. Because, now Javier ain't about women's rights and feminism and freedom and all that stuff like that. And he's misogynistic and all about the Bible, and that was so disrespectful to him. So how are you going to tell a woman she should be in the house cooking and cleaning when I never said that? I'm just saying, isn't that what the biblical, ain't that what kind of says in the Bible? A woman takes care of the house, cooking and cleaning, and take care of the kids and all that stuff like that while the man is out working, right? Or it hints the idea of that, right? But that's forgot about, except for this abortion thing, right? See, you can't equate one with the other. The Bible is very contradictory, let's be honest. The Bible is very contradictory because it will say all of this shit is a sin, but then it says you can't judge, God can. But not necessarily that is contradictory. What's contradictory is or I guess you could say that is contradictory because it's in our nature to judge people. It's in our nature to say, hey, this is a sin. But one thing that humans forget is we can promote that God is saying it's a sin, but he didn't say promote judgment. Because last time I checked, you ain't Jesus. You ain't died on the cross to save my sins. And I don't have to praise you. So why the hell are you trying to come up with a decision as to what I should do with my body? But as I told you once before, these religious people pick and choose what they want. Because the same thing that could be said about abortions is the same thing to be said about condoms and birth control and Plan B and all of the things that are out there to actively prevent you from having babies that can aid in that process. And church people use that. And you cannot ever tell me there's not one church person out there that ain't never used a condom before. At least one. There's somebody out there that's used condoms before. I don't care who you are. I know for sure there's at least one church person out there that's used a condom before, or a birth control, or actively went out and bought a Plan B. And I'm not just talking about the ones that are heavy church goers. I'm also talking about the ones that just believe in God on a general daily basis. That's who I'm talking about. But for the heavy churchgoers, there's somebody out there that goes to church every Sunday, every Wednesday, Bible study, prayer meeting, deacon board meeting, usher board meeting, the building fund meeting, and they've used the birth control, or they used condoms before, or they've gotten a damn abortion before. It honestly boils down to this. The abortion laws are in place solely based off of religion. It has nothing to do with it being unconstitutional. It has nothing to do with it being constitutional. It has nothing to do with it being illegal. It has nothing to do with it being legal. It has everything to do with the fight for it is based off of religion and based off of your beliefs. And you are suppressing people that either are religious or not religious based off of your own beliefs. And that is not right. And that does violate, in my book, the First Amendment. Like I mentioned with the guy that's the coach that was praying with his team after each game. You're suppressing other people's lives with your beliefs, which falls into the judgment category, which falls into you're casting stones when you have sinned too. And you have no right to. You have no right. And there's no thing in the Bible you can say for sure that that person is going to hell. Because you are not God. And you don't have the decision to make. And you may just go to hell for telling somebody else they may be going to hell. Literally. But I don't know that to be factually true. We all waiting for our judgment day. But like I said, my opinion is I'm for it. I'm for women having their choice. Just if I was having a baby, I know for sure my woman is going to keep the baby. We ain't aborting nothing. Just my woman. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, I would make sure I actively find someone who is willing and wanting to have a baby with no consideration of abortion in their mind, thought, or process, or unction, or feeling in their being. Mind, heart, body, and soul. Not just based off of religion, but based off the fact that we want to have a child. You get what I'm saying? That's just me though, y'all. That's just me. And the last thing I want to say, regarding this, and the only thing she updated to this post was warning, these are my personal beliefs and opinions, which we are all entitled to having our own perspectives. And I feel like her perspective is kind of tainted because she doesn't really understand. I don't think she really knew what she was fighting on when it came to that. But that's okay. I'm still going to follow her. I'm still going to respect her decision and her choice. I don't like it. I hate it for what she said, because none of what she said, a lot of the stuff she said never equated with one with the other. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, that's all I have to say, y'all. That's all I have to say. That's my opinion on it. When it comes to pro-choice, if you want to say I'm pro-life and pro-choice. If you want to put a label on it, because then I'm pro-life and pro-choice. I'm in the middle. And then I can make the argument. I can make the argument that it's all based on the circumstance. But then I can also make the position on what is their financial status. And why do they want the abortion to begin with? I can also make the status that God said it's a sin and you shouldn't have an abortion. But then who am I to tell you what to do? You get what I'm saying? But all I can tell you is this. Stop saying it's unconstitutional, because it's not. It never was in the Constitution to begin with. So it's not unconstitutional that they took out the law. Stop saying it's unconstitutional for women to not have the right to have an abortion, because it was never in the Constitution to begin with. It's all based off of religion. And like I mentioned, the only reason why people are saying it's unconstitutional because it falls in that category of right to privacy. But it never states anything directly about abortions or pregnancies in the Constitution. All it says is the right to privacy, which women should have the right to privacy. Because like I said, the argument was made that why should the government know what's going on with my body? Because that's an invasion of my privacy. which falls underneath the First Amendment and the 14th Amendment as far as that goes. And I agree with that. So majority, I am pro do what you want to do. Who am I to tell you what to do? I'm not going to sit back here and judge you and be like, go ahead and have the abortion, but then sit here and judge you. I'm just going to let you know, I believe it. I do believe it's a sin. Because that's what God says. I have to take his word for it. He said it's a sin, so I have to, but I'm not going to believe it past beyond. I'm not going to believe it to where I'm so blind by carelessness and the Jesus in me and loving one another, respecting your choice and judgment. I'm not a belief to a fault when it comes to that. Because like God also says in the Bible, you got to love each other. Respect each other. It says that too. So that's why I believe and love God to a fault until I'm blind. But in his word. I believe in his word, but not to where it blinds me from being human and bring your brother, bring your sister and saying, you know what? Although I believe this is a sin because God says it, I'm not going to treat you any different. I'm not going to treat you wrongly. I'm not going to treat you like you're inhuman. I'm not going to treat you nasty and foul and disgusting and gutterball worse than an animal because I wouldn't even treat an animal like this. You get what I'm saying? That's my position on abortion. So if somebody asks me the question, should they invoke the Roe v. Wade again? Yes, they should. But there's also, if you go back and do some more reading in the Roe v. Wade case, there's also stipulations as to the first and second trimester and all these things like that, and how the government can now start to have a vote or an opinion in whether or not you should have an abortion at a certain point in your pregnancy. I think that there should be at no point in time any involvement of the government during a woman's pregnancy, all the way up until she gives birth and beyond that. There should be no opinion based off of man or woman when it comes to a woman's pregnancy. So they should invoke it, but with some revisions made to it. Because I'm for women choosing what they want to do. And I knew there was one more thing I wanted to discuss. I knew there was one. Oh my God, there was one more thing to discuss, and I gotta tell y'all this quickly. Isn't church and state supposed to be separate? Because when I grew up in school, in history class, it talked about church and state being two separate entities. Because what God finds okay and not okay is different from what man finds okay and not okay. And some of them correlate. But wasn't there issues with Great Britain and Rome and all these other countries that had a religion, and they found out that church and state always conflicted? Because when I grew up, sometimes the church was the law, was the government. And what that found out to be throughout history, from the time of history to now, was that was a conflict. Because sometimes churches would make laws and things in place based off of God's rule and law. Except for you're not God, so you can't necessarily do that. So that's why law was put in place, and laws this way and then religions this way. And they never intertwine. And that's one thing. That's why my basis is that it's not unconstitutional, and the basis of abortion has nothing to do with it being legal or not legal or constitutional or not constitutional. It's based on religion, and we're constantly in this battle in this world of trying to interwoven and link up religion with state when they're two separate things. Because if we're going to get to the nitty gritty, a lot of the shit that we're doing in the world right now as man and woman doesn't fall in line with the Bible. And I'm not just talking about I'm not just talking about abortion. I'm talking about racism, sexual assaults, sexuality, all that stuff. None of that falls in line, and that's the reason why church and state need to stay separate. You should, and because the reason, like I mentioned before, you shouldn't be suppressing somebody else with your religion and your opinion based off of your religion. It's fine to have your opinion, but to use abortion and say this and this and this based off because it's the law, like I said, it has nothing to do with the law. It has everything to do with religion. And church and state should always be separate. There should never be any intertwining in it, and that's unconstitutional. In my book, if I understand correctly, it's a law where church and state are supposed to be two separate things, two separate entities. Because not everybody, and the reason why it was so highlighted in the United States for church and state to be separate is because not everybody's a Christian. Not everybody's a Muslim. Not everybody's a Buddhist. Not everybody's a Jew. Not everybody is Catholic. Not everybody is atheist. Not everybody's a scientist. Because all of those are religions in their own right. So you cannot, and then there's the law. That causes too much conflict. So that's why I'm saying make the right choice for you. But then my religion is saying this, but I'm not going to suppress you with my religion. Because then that's how you get people hating God and not want to be your religion or come to your church or disliking you. For what reason? Because we're all supposed to love each other and not judge each other. You know what I'm saying? So, that's my thing. So, y'all, think about it, y'all. I hope y'all heard me out. But church and state are supposed to be separate. They should not be intertwined. And that's what the Supreme Court did by doing what they did. And that's what Evan McKinney is trying to do. Why should the power be given back to the states to legalize or not legalize abortion when all we know is that they're going to use their religion beliefs to put it into law that abortion should not be legal? When this country was founded on freedom of press and freedom of speech and freedom of religion, and the fact that church and state were going to be separate entities. Because now, if you want to start involving the church in the law, then guess what? Churches need to start paying taxes. No, for real. Let's get down to church should start paying taxes. And people should start getting paid to work at the church. And people should start getting hourly rates at the church. Let's if you want to involve your religious beliefs into law, then the church system, everything about God needs to be involved. And another thing I couldn't understand, which is on my brain, why is it that if church and state are supposed to be two separate things, why do companies profit off of making money off of God's word? Because they sell the Bible in stores. So that's another thing I have to say about that. And I know that has nothing to do with necessarily law, but kind of intertwining, that's the word I'm looking for, with, you know what I'm saying? Two separate entities. But you can't have one without the other. But you can't sit up here and you can't do it. Church and state should be separate. And Evan McKinney, and along with other religious people, like that, those people that are in the Supreme Court, and the people that are all religious, and the people that are in the Christianity world and in the church world are saying that it's illegal or unconstitutional. You can't. You're now intertwining church and state together when those two entities are supposed to be separate because of everybody's different beliefs, and it causes us to clash. It causes worlds to clash, countries to clash, continents to clash, literally, physically, emotionally, figuratively, all that. But like I said, y'all, separated. It got to stay separated for the right of humanity and for us to become a better world together. But I thank y'all for watching this show. I will see y'all tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about obesity and the stigmatism around that and being overweight in African American communities. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Avir Vassal. You can follow the show on Facebook and Instagram at The Analytical Eye Show. And of course on Twitter at iAnalytical. I'm still working on that website. But again, if anybody out there that knows and wants to collaborate with me on the intro for this show, thank you. Hit me up at avirvassal@yahoo.com. I thank you so much for watching. I have to go take out my dogs because they are whining. And I hope you guys have a good day. God bless us all. Let's continue to love on each other and support one another and stop suppressing each other and putting each other down. God bless you so much. I love you. And remember, I'm not about hate on a person. I have the right to hate what maybe they have said or their actions, but it doesn't truly allow me it doesn't mean that I hate the person. But I'm working on the hate part because I'm not supposed to hate because the Bible says so. But I love y'all so much. I thank you so much for watching. Cheers to you all. Have a good day. Peace and love. Thank you.